Hi guys, welcome to OzConnect episode 3. I am Colin Ayres all the way from the UK, and with me again this week I have...
Hey, it's Erica from Olympia, Washington.
And joining us as well, my other friend and co-host, Mr. Chase.
Greetings from Edmonds, Washington.
Ooh, sounds so posh. Is it?
No, it's metropolitan, but not fancy. So.
Fair enough. I'm from Stoke-on-Trent, Staffordshire, and that's really not fancy. Is Olympia not really nice area to live, Erica?
It's one of those capitals that doesn't feel like a capital.
Okay, I've not been up that way.
People think Seattle's the capital.
The closest I've been up to that way is the event in Portland a few years ago where I met you. Worst day of my life. So coming up on
your nightmare.
You're definitely my nightmare. Coming up on episode 3, we have got pop culture references from the MGM's Wizard of Oz to Oz the Great and Powerful in WandaVision. The Baum Bugle is out. We're going to discuss Toto movie that's up and coming and a brief discussion on the Wizard of Oz, and then some moving pictures of the Royal Historians of Oz. Join us again in a few seconds. Welcome back, guys, and thank you for joining us. The OzConnect is an Oz news-related channel, and it is supported by OzConInternational.com. Please go over to www.OzConInternational and register for our free event that will be out on the 17th of July, running 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. We will all be there in some form or another, and it is a free event that will be running for a 12-hour period, and we will have a great time, and you'll get to know a lot about Oz and a lot of fun guests. And as we go a few more weeks on, particularly around about May time, I'll be ready to reveal some of the insights of what we're going to have as part of that OzCon. But in the meantime, we will be having at least 2 episodes of OzConnect a month to keep your Oz appetite whet. So, have you guys been watching WandaVision?
Oh, yeah. It's so good.
Mr. Chase?
I am naughty. I have yet to watch it, but all my friends keep me so well informed.
How rude.
You need to watch it. It's so good.
I plan on it. I definitely plan on it. I've got my Disney Plus subscription ready, so I just need to watch it.
I think basically, if you've wondered why I'm going on about WandaVision, there are a couple of Oz references in this show on Disney Plus. It's 9 episodes long. It involves witches, which kind of, it feels a little bit Aussie anyway. It's one of the first Marvel of the Marvel MCU universe that's particularly very female-led as well, and it's great fun. But we get a direct reference to Oz the Great and Powerful, and also we get a really great scene involving another witch where you think she's dead and her shoes are left under a car that's been hurled at somebody. I'm going to pop that up on the screen now, but I don't want to give away who it is, because if you haven't seen it, it kind of is a big reveal, so I'm going to keep a little bit stum. But it's a really great kind of little pop culture, and it's not the only pop culture Oz reference recently. I watched the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina over on Netflix. Have you guys seen that show?
Oh, yes.
Did you see the Oz-related one?
I was so excited when I saw the direction they were going in. I was like,
What about you, Mr. Chase? Did you see the Oz one?
Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh. I especially love that they called it the shoes she was wearing, dead man's shoes. She was walking down this path, and I just, my little Oz heart was just beating out of my chest.
I know. and the red brick and the, what was it, like
Blood Red Brick Road or something like that.
Yeah.
There was so much in there. I mean, if it's not
in the center on the cross, it was like the scarecrow. And...
so we got a scarecrow. We got an actual Tin Woodman with a beating heart on the outside. This is not your 90s Sabrina. This is a dark Sabrina for sure. There was no lion, but we kind of got a Wicked Witch of the West stroke Wizard of Oz in one.
Yeah, it was a cross between them.
Yeah, and there's even like a kind of servant that was a little bit flying monkey-like. So it was a great full-on reference to the Wizard of Oz. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't seen Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, it's not the 90s version. It's a very kind of darker, twisted, maybe owes a lot to Buffy the Vampire Slayer as a series. But it's worth a watch. There's 4 seasons on Netflix, and if not, I think it was in season 4. Go and have a watch if you just want to see it for the Oz references, but do expect a bit of gore.
Yeah, the Oz references come in. What was that? It was the first episode of season 3. I want to say that sound right.
Yeah, actually, season 3. Yeah, no, you're right. It's season 3 when they go to get Sabrina's boyfriend from hell,
Nick Scratch. Oh, really? That's where I was born.
That's my couple of references. Erica, have you got anything?
I mean, the biggest one I could think of was WandaVision specifically. It was, and I wanted to point it out specifically because it's like a blink and you'll miss it. It was this part with the movie theater marquee, and there are all these movies flashing on it, and it shows Oz the Great and Powerful, and it's Disney shamelessly advertising their lesser movies.
I mean, it didn't do too bad money wise, but yeah, it's not their best piece of work. Is that let's see that Aussie image you got on your T-shirt there, Erica, in full view?
I believe it's from Royal Book of Oz.
From Royal Book of Oz, your most loved book of the entire franchise.
Shut up.
Ruth Plumley.
I didn't realize it at the time.
Taught you, and you're meant to know your Oz. Why have you not burned it if you hate that book so much? Also, the Baum Bugle dropped this last week. There's a great article in there from our friend at OzCon, Dina Masacci, on the Lena Horne's Glinda. That was a really fun read, along with other articles. If anyone's interested, you need to be an Oz Club member for that. Cool. So I think we've got another movie or series coming up, Mr. Chase, is that right?
Yes, that is correct. And so there's a new Wizard of Oz film that is being made from the perspective of Toto the dog. And so, yeah, I definitely look forward to this. It's going to be a brand new musical film version, according to Deadline, and it's going to be an animated feature, just from the perspective of Toto, the lovable dog. I mean, it's going to be quite wonderful. I think it'll be written by John August, who wrote the book for Big Fish and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And also he is working on the Grease prequel film / series as well. And also he co-wrote the Aladdin adaptation for Disney. So the most recent one, the live action one.
Okay, cool. Is it Warner Brothers on that one? I can't remember who.
So it's originally back in 2018. It was announced that it was Warner Brothers Productions that was doing it. Although with him being so attached to Disney, I'm not sure if Disney had acquired the rights or if Warner Brothers relinquished them or what happened. But I'm interesting. I mean, they haven't released a release date yet for it, but hopefully they'll announce it within this year, maybe next. Me personally, I can't wait. Toto really just rocked my socks in TikTok of Oz because, like in the last chapter, you find out he can talk. I was just like, this little beastie has had the ability to speak this entire time.
He's just trolling everybody.
He's smart. He's like waiting for everyone else to say what they have to. And anyways, I just I wonder if they'll do a movie based on like his time with Dorothy, like an origin story for him where he meets Dorothy and then they finally go to Oz, or like after he learns how to speak, he goes on these wonderful adventures.
I believe it's based upon a book. Erica, didn't you say you read this book?
Yeah, I read the book. It's cute and it's illustrated and it's actually quite lovely. The ending, and I won't give away the ending, but I'll just say it really goes off script.
Mm-hmm.
I personally, I think it had me up until then, and then it kind of lost me, but I kind of hope they would tweak that so it kind of, makes more sense.
I guess if it is still Warner Brothers attached to this, they'll probably want to link it heavily with MGM's Wizard of Oz.
Right.
So they'll probably tailor it around that.
But basically, it's just Toto. It's basically the story retold from Toto's point of view, so it's almost the exact same story. And so if they do that as a movie, they would probably have to spice it up so they're not retelling the same story.
Yeah, and I guess there's the Tom and Jerry Wizard of Oz. That was done from the perspective of Tom and Jerry, wasn't it? If you guys have seen that. So
yeah, I didn't see the first one. I saw the second one.
I've seen the first one and I haven't seen the second one.
Which was weird.
I was going to say, if you would like to check out the book that the film will be based off of, it's called Toto, The Doggone Amazing Adventures of the Wizard of Oz. It came out in 2017. It's a 284-page picture book. And it was, and it's written by Michael Morburgo and Emma Chichester. So, yeah, I apologize if I butchered those.
Yeah, I will post a link down below to the book, and I will also post a link down to the articles that we have spoken about today. And I will make a point of reading it as a movie. I guess I'm kind of excited that at least there's several Oz projects simmering away at the moment. And whilst there's been lots over the years, they seem to be coming along in abundance right now. So I really hope that this does come into something and it really revives Oz for a new audience, a new interest into the books and that kind of thing. I think it'd be nice to segue because I suspect it'll be MGM related, but on episode 1 we discussed the new upcoming Wonderful Wizard of Oz series that's going to be produced by New Line, or was it HBO? I can't remember off the top of my head. And I just felt that maybe people assumed that we don't like the MGM Wizard of Oz because we were very much about it's time for a new movie, and I still believe it's time for a new movie. But I kind of just want to set the scene that I was brought up on MGM's Wizard of Oz. I watched it 3 times a day and drove my mom insane watching it. And Judy Garland is just an amazing actress and an amazing Dorothy that's really hard to break away from. But there's nothing I don't love about MGM's Wizard of Oz. What about you guys?
I mean, I did like the movie too. I remember seeing it for the first time. I remember vividly the first time seeing it. It was in my very short stint in preschool before I had to stop going for fighting. True story. There's more to it, but true story. I was a violent child.
That does not surprise me.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise anybody. But I remember we were doing stuff involving Wizard of Oz. And at one point, we had to sit down and watch the film. And I'm like, this is really awesome. And I told my parents about it. And I don't know, they must have recorded it off a TV or something. And I watched it so much. I remember having my own pair of ruby slippers that I loved wearing all the time. I mean, I outgrew it eventually, the whole thing, until I got into high school, and I loved the books. I finally got back into watching the movie like a couple of years ago, but yeah, it is a good movie. I mean, it's fun to watch. It's definitely not something that should be replaced. But you know, so the new movie shouldn't replace it, but it should add to the filmography.
Yeah, it's of an era as well in terms of its vaudeville styling compared to a new take might do on it. What about you, Mr. Chase?
Well, I loved the film until like I read the book and I was like, wait, so it wasn't a dream. It was for Dorothy. It was real.
That was an shock,
that's like the only thing that I really would love for any future adaptations is to just make it real, make it real for her because she went to this place. I mean, I don't know. It always kind of like made me wonder why MGM did that instead of, making it a real place and going back with Judy Garland maybe for a sequel. I mean, I don't know. I mean, how can you make a sequel to a place that was a dream?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of it's something that I know frustrates a lot of Oz fans. I think that if it is going to be remade or they want to potentially do more of the books, and I think someone will go, this is a real land, like the Narnia films that came out. It's believed that it's a real place. I'd certainly there's still a lot to love. I mean, I don't watch it all the time. It's my go-to movie if maybe I'm on a bit of a downer and you need a pick-me-up because I've seen it so many times I could quote every line. And then I've recently rewatched it in 4K because the 4K is stunning. The image quality of something that's from the late 1930s, it's really well cleaned up because they've put a lot of money into it. And was some of my most.
You can see your pores.
You could see you can see a bolt on the Tin Man's nose that you couldn't normally see. It's that cleaned up, and I'm viewing it on like a 65-inch OLED screen, so it's the best I've ever seen. I think there's some debate over has it now been cleaned up beyond what the original cinematographers would have wanted. Probably yes, because that technology wasn't available at the time, but it holds up, and the ruby slippers look amazing in 4K. Some of my best experiences as well with this movie now has been recently where we've seen The Wizard of Oz before the Oz convention, one in Pomona in 2019, and then there was the one that I met you at, Erica, in what's that place called again?
Portland.
Portland, thank you. I don't think you were with us, were you, Mr. Chase, until we were down in Pomona?
Yeah, that's whenever I met you all there. So.
Yeah,
it's really weird that we met in Pomona, even though we lived like 2 hours away from each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, and kind of a couple of my Oz friends recently, like Brian that comes to the Oz conventions from Scotland as well, but I'd never met him until we met up in London with a few other Oz geeks, so it kind of does connect us all a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, Chase and I would never have met, until we were like 1,000 miles away from home.
Have you met in person since the Oz convention?
Like once or twice.
Oh, good. No, that's great. If I lived closer to people, we'd be hanging out much more regularly.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Just COVID's kind of put a kibosh on even a UK meet, let alone a meet in America. So just to close off on the Wizard of Oz MGM talk, I would probably a couple of words each on what it means to you, and probably for me would be home, ruby slippers, and it's just such a part of culture, let alone American culture now. It's hard to ever remove that from my thought process of what a great movie it is. Erica, any closing thoughts from you?
Sorry, you were talking about ruby slippers and stuff, and made me think of the Tin Woodman, and made me think of some inappropriate things I probably shouldn't say on here.
Yeah, Erica's got Tin Man daddy issues. She's hot for the Tin Man. That's as far as I'll go with
daddy. Okay, a little bit, but it's called crippling loneliness.
Fair enough. Mr. Chase, how do you follow that one?
I guess you never really forget the taste of metal.
That's enough heavy metal references.
So
Let's just say I did like having braces.
It's got warm in here. Back to the I was going to say something about the ruby slippers. So just red is quite an iconic. Ruby slippers, they're super iconic. Most people remember them before they think of the silver slippers. And also just like in like pop culture, I see a lot of strong women wear like red shoes. Like I remember Miranda Priestley from The Devil Wears Prada. The first thing you see is her red shoes.
Yeah.
Let's see, Pope Benedict XVI, the last pope, he had an affinity to wear red shoes. And like that's like the first thing that you'd see as soon as he step out of Vatican Air One. It's just those bam ruby kicks.
Yeah.
But no, I just I love how little tiny things like that, like definitely the Vatican Pope wearing red slippers. I mean, definitely not ruby slippers, but I would say he's like the closest thing we have to a wizard in this world. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think the ruby slippers are so iconic. I think it's the one thing that, well, there are multiple things, but the one thing that really I think they did a much better job of in the books was making those ruby slippers red. I did not think they would have been as iconic silver. There's just something about that sparkly kind of ruby sequin shoes that makes all girls and most gay boys want a pair to run around in. I have a pair. I've got a pair I wore at the OzCon that were flat men's flats. There's a size 6-inch drag queen version heels up in the loft somewhere, which I must get out whenever there's a next storm coming along. And I would really love to own a replica pair. I do see people making them on Facebook, and at some point I will get around to having a replica pair. I don't think I'm going to get my size 10 size in them, but they can go in a nice display case. And if I'm drunk, I might try and squeeze in them and clop around the house. We'd all do it if we had a pair. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to plug something to finish up that I'd seen on Facebook recently. So our good friend Cindy Ragney of WonderfulBooksOfOz.com, who's also quite often being a sponsor for OzCon and will be in an episode at the OzCon Virtual Con again this year.
Cindy, if you're watching this, you rock.
She posted a very unique video on Facebook of an image of L. Frank Baum that had been animated to show lifelike movement, and it was pretty well done. So I decided, when obviously I had lots of time available, to animate the different royal historians. So I'm going to pop the videos on for everyone to see. Some of them I think are quite successful, and some of them are not.
Yeah, I love the Baum one because the first time I saw it, I'm like, "What is this?"
Yeah, it's kind of like it's an image you've seen so often, but we've never seen him in moving pictures, and it's kind of so unique and a little bit eerie at exactly the same time.
also made me think of the moving pictures from Harry Potter.
Yes.
Yeah, 100% it feels like that. And comment down below on, do you think these look quite realistic? Is it fun to see the different royal historians? So up on screen you have had L. Frank Baum, W. Denslow, Ruth Plumley Thompson, the wonderful illustrator John R. Neal, Jack Snow. I have not put up images of Rachel Cosgrove or of Eloise McGraw because there is videos around of those people. I think as much as they look great to see an old static moving image come to life, it may not be of what they would have really looked like, but at least it gives us a little bit of a feel for what they would have been as people. And also just how far will deepfake technology go in the future if you can animate these talking faces. But yeah, it's a little bit like having Oz, Harry Potter moving picture frames. So on royal historians, and again, for those that might only be aware of L. Frank Baum, there is the royal historians that I've just listed off. I'm the kind of Oz fan that does have all of the famous 40, which has all of those authors in there, and I have read all of the famous 40 apart from Lucky Bucky in Oz. What about you guys?
I'm on my way. I'm trying to work my way through Thompson. It's hard.
How far are you with Thompson at the moment?
I finished Yellow Knight. I was trying to remember. I'm looking through all my... Oh, yeah, here we go.
Are you doing them in chronological order?
Yeah, I'm anal that way. I have to read things in order.
No, I'm like that as well. So you've not read any of the later ones then by McGraw or Cosgrove or anybody? You just at Thompson?
Not yet. I have to read them in order.
That's fine. I get that. Have you read all the 14 bombs now?
Oh yeah, I read those a long time ago.
Do you have any that stand out of the Thompson ones that you slightly like?
I actually liked Yellow Knight. I liked it. It's written it's like it was written by someone who knew how to write.
Yeah. Okay.
It was actually good. I was surprised. I was surprised by how it was actually good.
I think if I remember right with Yellow Knight, it's more of her characters rather than Bond's, which generally is when she's stronger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it was, I don't know, but it also made sense.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a bunch of thrown all over the place.
Yeah, some I like the Thompson books, but they're not always very tightly plotted, or certainly.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It was tighter,
and they don't. She's not great sometimes at wrapping up stories. She kind of rushes.
Yeah.
That. What about you?
And that was another thing. It wasn't rushed, and it wasn't that there wasn't any stupid plot devices, and no. Oh, he was brought back to life from the power of love of his friend. That was so stupid. And if those of you who've read Caroline of Oz, you know what I'm talking about. That was stupid.
Mr. Chase, so have you read beyond? Where are you in your reading with the Oz world?
So, I have read through Glinda of Oz and Royal Historian of Oz, and then I've read a few different random books like Paradox of Oz, and it was Wars or not. I read that one out of order, but I mean it was still very, very interesting. I will say because I had read the original L. Frank Baum books in high school in preparation for our production of The Wizard of Oz.
Oh, cool.
I didn't continue with other non-L. Frank Baum books, but rather other things that were like the Wicked books. I read those in school as well because I was in high school and we were doing The Wizard of Oz, and it just seemed natural. I'm more versed in those books because they're the subject matter is very adult and very it's very dark. It's very grim. The Wizard of Oz is, of course, from the viewpoint of a little girl versus Wicked being from the point of someone who just becomes wicked one day. I need to read some of the other historians of Oz books. Would you all care to give me some suggestions. I'm ready to write them down.
So I would say the best Royal Historian book outside of L. Frank Baum would be Merry-Go-Round in Oz by Eloise McGraw and Lauren Lynn McGraw. It takes elements of Baum and Thompson and wraps them together. There's a little bit of Britishisms in there, but it's a really, really well-written book. A lot of the other Oz fans would say that. The Magical Mimics of Oz by Jack Snow is a great book. It's written very much in the Baum style, but is quite dark as well. I would say don't read the John R. Neal ones unless you have taken a boatload of drugs, and then maybe they might make sense, because John R. Neal was a fantastic artist but a terrible writer. Terrible. It'd be really bad. Like, think of the worst Oz fan written work that you just think is terrible, and it's probably as bad as that. It's just
Thompson.
No, it's way worse. It makes Thompson look like a very well structured writer.
That's saying something.
The Thompson ones that I would recommend would be Kabumpo in Oz, The Wishing Horse of Oz, and Handy Mandy in Oz. They're my favourite Thompson's better written ones.
I will say Kabumpo was actually kind of tolerable.
Mm-hmm. Kabumpo's a great character. As well, she is quite good at some of the characters she creates, but I think they will give you a flavor. We've all read Paradox, and so I don't even need to recommend that to you. And Paradox is one of my favorite Oz books.
Paradox was awesome.
It's kind of, and it's not just written in the Baum feeling, but it's also illustrated like the John O'Neill illustrations with Eric Shanower's illustrations, published by Hungry Tiger Press. So it was done with a lot of love under a publishing house. So if for other people at the very least, if you like your Oz and you particularly a Baum Oz, but if you've read other Oz such as Thompson, there are little references in there to that kind of it's a real lot of fun, and it brings a slight sci-fi element to the Oz world. So that's what I liked about it. It was like Futurama in Oz.
Oh, yeah, awesome.
There you go. So there's some reading for you, Mr. Chase. You got that and Queen Zixie to get through by the time we do another episode.
Awesome.
Queen Zixie's good. Sea Fairy, Sky Island. In the regards of non-Oz books, Master Key, it's a fun little romp. It's racist, but it's a fun little romp.
Yeah, some of the books, Mr. Chase, you'll find are out of copyright. So, like Kabumpo, you should be able to get a online version to read now, because that's now out of copyright. I think Cowardly Lion just recently went out of copyright as well. So you may find them on iBooks or similar places for little money. But Merry-Go-Round, you won't. You're going to need to pick up a copy of that. But the club do a copy. And
the club does a lot of these books too, and they're really cheap.
And you can get some Del Rey paperbacks quite cheap as some of the Thompson stuff. It depends on which way you want to go. I'm now at the point of putting everything in a hardback and trying to get everything in first editions. But originally, I started off by collecting the paperbacks just so I could read.
Yeah, that's what I do. I mean, and also the paperbacks are, at least the Thompson ones, are pretty good at propping up tables, as I have said so many times.
How dare you sacrifice a Thompson book to a table?
I'm not sacrificing them. I'm just using them.
You'll never get your money back at the auction.
They were $5 copies, most of them.
Oh, fair enough.
Besides, they're actually, I don't think they were, based on what I've read, they're not worth $5.
I guess that about wraps
especially Lost King, which is what I'm looking at right now.
I didn't mind Lost King in Oz. That does at least reference some of the earlier books. Tom's, it's not that bad.
I think they treated Mombi a little harshly.
Yeah, kind of how she deals. Thompson does have a
mean streak.
Mean streak, and does like to just wipe out some of her enemies rather than wipe their memory or whatever.
She was nasty.
Yeah. There's a definite. I think it'd be interesting to see what Mr. Chase's view is on when he's read a few of these books in terms of how Thompson deals with things at times. It's definitely a little bit different.
You can take or leave Royal Book. That's like her weakest book.
Yeah, I would read it just from purely the point of view of if you're going in order of the books, then yeah, sure, read Royal Book, but it's a hard read. And
it's like if the South Park guys wrote an Oz book.
And if it
like all the racist stuff.
When it was published at the time, it was sold under it being L. Frank Baum's book that Ruth Plumly Thompson had just done a few notes on. But when you read it, it's Thompson, and it was never really done from any notes from Baum. It was just their advertising at the time to keep the series going. But at least you get some John Arniel illustrations that keep the feel of the books all the way through Thompson's run.
Like you can definitely tell someone else wrote it.
Yeah, and without spoiling it for you, Mr. Chase, if you were to read it, her answer to how the Scarecrow come to life is pants. But somebody out there might like it.
Everyone dies. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, the end. Alrighty, I feel like we've come to a natural end for episode 3. Thank you for joining us again. Please feel free to comment down below on your favorite Oz book. Do you have any recommendations for Mr. Chase and Erica, as they haven't read all of the Famous 40 and Beyond yet? So let us know. Please like and subscribe to the Oz Connection. Your likes really do help us out as we're trying to bring you more content on this channel. And also join us on Facebook for the OzCon and the Oz Connection All Things Oz discussion group, where you can join in the Oz conversation. Have a great night, guys. See you soon.
Like and subscribe.